evening and welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Tavon, Steve. Steve is from the Vapors, bass player. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm glad we could do this. This is kind of fun. I obviously I do a lot of artists on my show and a music show, but I was not as familiar because there's just only so much music I can consume, and I consume a lot of it, enough hours a day. I didn't know a lot about a lot of the past songs in the Vapors, so when this opportunity came up, I totally was excited because I really like this new album you guys are doing, and I went back and listened to the other two albums, and I really enjoy them now. Kind of put them in my rotation now. It's just, there's just too much music out there for everything. You just can't.
Yeah,
So this kind of give you front cuts to put you back in, So I'm
yeah,
listening to it. Let's talk about. So the new album come out like in a month or so, right? I don't have the exact date in front of me. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Um,
It's out on February 28th. It's out on Red Chuck
yeah.
Records in America
Yep.
through Bandcamp.
And so it's Wasp in a Jar. Cool cover, cool title. You're doing some touring.
We,
You'll be near me in July, I think.
yes,
In Connecticut.
we're in America July, end of July till beginning of September doing the 80s tour.
So yeah, it's pretty exciting. So how? Let's start. I don't need to go into So people don't know the big hit, Turning Japanese. There's a million things out there. Great fun song. My kids even had it on their fake guitars. It's everywhere. But let's talk about some new stuff though, and other stuff that's a little more interesting that you haven't talked about 8,000 times in the past 2 days. I mean, it's a fun song. It's a good pop song, but you guys have a lot of other really good songs. And I think before we talk about the new album, I really enjoy a lot of the songs from your other two albums. Really good pop music on there. You know, it's
Um, yeah, I'm really glad you enjoying the new one, and in fact, and you've revisited the old ones because yeah, that's nice too.
well, I think it's consistency. I guess my point is, and a little long-winded, it's you guys were very consistent. It wasn't like there was just one big hit, one good song. I hate that one hit wonder thing. It's
Yeah,
you have two good solid albums, and there's other songs in there I actually like better than Turning Japanese. I mean, Turning Japanese is a brain worm, a song worm that gets in your head. You just can't get that out of your head. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, I
And if
do.
every artist could get one song like that, that's a gift because that can
Yeah,
keep you touring forever. There's nothing
yeah,
wrong with that.
yeah,
But the
absolutely.
problem I do think is when people say one hit wonder, I think it negates the talent and other songwriting skills most artists have with
Yeah.
other albums. So I guess to that point, I want to tell people first off, besides this new album, go back and listen to the other two albums. They're really good. Um, you guys got back together 2016, was it?
Yeah, that's right.
I gotta be honest with you, I wasn't too sure. Like, what got you guys together? Like, that was a big break. I mean, you guys were apart for a long time. What got you guys back together all of a sudden that, you know, to start playing together and start doing more music?
Yeah, okay. And what happened was, so Dave was working as a lawyer with the Musicians Union, and he was offered early retirement, which he wanted to take the early retirement. And his wife said to him, "Well, what are you going to do? I don't want you sitting around at home getting under my feet, getting in my way. You need to get the band together and go and do something." So So Dave emailed all of the original members of the band that saying that he'd like a meeting. Myself and Ed went along to the meeting. Howard had just had a young child, so he really
Yeah.
wasn't ready to get him, throw everything in to do band again. Um, and I have a covers band called the Shakespeareos, and we were playing at a charity event in London, and we were also like the backing band for a lot of artists that night. And the organizer, he kept phoning me up and going, "Steve, you have to get the Vapors to come and play. Just get them to play, come and play Turning Japanese." And he was relentless, to be fair. This Mike
Did
Bennett
he
was.
know that you guys were talking though, or was this just the impetus
No,
in the
well,
back of
he
his
did.
mind?
He did because I know Mike quite well.
Okay.
He's actually the front person in the Blockheads now.
Okay, so he
Which
knew that you were close to the edge. He kind of could push you a little bit. It wasn't a wide shot. You know what I mean? He knew
Yeah,
a little
no,
bit. Okay.
yeah, I know Mike. I know Mike quite well from doing his charity gigs. So I
Nice.
just mentioned that we were talking again, and then he just was relentless with me on the phone, saying you've got to get back together. So I said, in the end, I got so fed up with him ringing me up that I said, okay, look, I'll do it. I'll message Dave and Ed. So I messaged them, and within half an hour, they both got back to me and said, yeah, we'll do it. So
Nice.
I turned up at the charity gig. We had no rehearsal or anything, but the Shakespeareos, we play turning Japanese every gig anyway. So the
Okay.
band know how to play it completely. So Dave and Ed just kind of slotted in. We played it, someone filmed it, put it on YouTube, and it just kind of blew up. It was like, wow, there's all this interest. We had no idea, really. We were talking about getting back together, but we had no idea if anybody would even know who we were anymore, really.
Really?
Yeah, not really. Well, yeah, I would say
I mean,
that.
come on. Remember those toy guitars back about 10 years ago, those air guitars? Turning
Yeah,
Japanese was
yeah,
on that song. My kids had it. I mean, that was the one song they would make believe air guitar around the house. I, I
that,
mean, it's a brilliant song because it's catchy, it's perfect. It's a perfect song for that. But
yeah, but yeah.
everybody knows it. It's
So once we'd done this one song, then an offer came in to do 4 gigs, which we found a drummer who was someone that Dave knew
Mhm.
from previous bands, and we said, well, let's go and do these 4 gigs and see what happens. And the gigs went really well. We were offered more gigs, and we kept getting offered more gigs. We kept saying yes, and here we are, like 8 and a bit years later,
That's
still doing it,
fantastic.
still having fun.
Well, I mean, in some level, it's a success story because people aren't aware of the history. You guys were only together for a few years, had a big
Yeah,
hit, and dissolved. So you guys did not get to experience a lot of the weight of the impact that you did because
no,
you know,
we were only together for 2.5 years, really, as that
yeah,
for. Yeah, so it was very short.
you didn't get to do the rock and roll like, oh, you have a hit, people know who you are. You didn't get to do that long run like a lot of people do before you crash and burn. You guys kind of just quietly dissolved a little bit and you get to get your get the perks. So it's kind of nice. You guys have been together now like 4 times longer than you originally were.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much, pretty
But
much.
you got maturity. You guys are bringing different experiences into the band.
Yeah.
You kept playing. Did Dave and Ed keep playing too during the
Uh,
time?
Dave kept playing for. I spoke to him about it. He said he kept going for about 10 years after the band
Okay.
split.
But at least
Uh,
start playing their instruments privately at home, right? At least to keep up on the as a hobby.
no, he had bands and everything. He had bands
Oh, well, okay, good.
for another
I
10 years, and so did I. So yeah, we both kept going. I drifted off into sound engineering for about 20 years.
that's a good gig.
Actually, Dave did some sound engineering as well, but yeah, I did a lot of sound engineering for 20 odd years, and then I just decided to go back to playing again.
That's a good move. I think I want to congratulate you guys for the success you guys have had. I mean, this has been phenomenal. And this album, let's talk Wasp in a Jar. So, what's been the process for the songwriting? Because I mean, it's 12 songs, not even a couple songs, not even an EP. It's 12 songs, solid album.
But the
What was the
process,
process for you guys? Yeah.
it's the same as that it's always been, really. Dave comes up with a lot of ideas, and he'll come to us with. He writes a lot of songs, and
Yes.
and Dave loves all his songs equally, but some are more equal than others. And our job is,
Like our kids, right? Like your children. We love
yeah.
them all the same, but some of them are like them more. No, I didn't say that.
So in effect, the job of us in the band is to point out which ones are more equal than the others,
Yeah.
and it's usually pretty easy for me to tell. To be honest, I know pretty much straight away when he plays me something whether it's great or not.
Right.
Uh, and Dave came up with, I think there was 20 something. Originally it was 30 something songs
Oh
in
wow.
all bits of songs that we had, and then we whittled it down to 20. We demoed the 20 songs, and then we chose the 14 that we liked the best out
Hmm.
of the 20, and that was because on the CD there's 14 tracks.
Yeah.
Went into the studio in Pennsylvania with Mike Giblin, and we recorded 14 songs.
It's fantastic. I mean, so yeah, the vinyl. I look at the write up of the vinyl I have, but I have the CD. I've heard it already. I love it. What I like is you have a strong, and I think it's not just this album, but in general, one of the songs, the strength of the band is the bass. It stands
Oh,
out much more, and I think that's also a time period thing. And I really like it from that time period when the music came out originally. The bass kind of had its own place originally. In the later years, bass kind of got buried in the back. Like
yeah.
bass is almost like its own driving force. Well, in this band, in this project, because you have your own solid sound. It cuts through the frequency. It's like kind of leads the way up there with the vocals. What I mean?
Oh,
Is
that's
that
great. That's
a
really
challenge for you though? Like sonically, because you don't want to compete too much with the vocals, but there is a driving bass that is part of the sound, of the band. Is that a
yeah.
challenge?
Yeah. I just really just the bass parts normally just pop into my head. To be honest, when Dave sings and plays something,
Hmm.
I want the bass first of all has to complement the vocal melody line
Right.
and also the rhythm of the melody line. And I sort of build the bass part around that. So yeah, so it's like really complementary to the singing and not trying to dominate it or anything. And I
Right.
think my style is such that I like to drive things along.
It is, but it's a good thing because, and first off, because it's fun because it's special because a lot of artists don't do it, and in a way, it stands its own place. It's like because usually you got to be like the vocals, and then you got the guitarist, and then you got bass and the drums kind of doing the thing in the back. But really, the bass in this band is right up there with the guitars, and sometimes it's almost more dominant because the guitars may be having riffs or more jangly, and the bass is just a solid tone that's going right through. You know what I mean? Where you're not
Yeah,
hearing the different guitars parts in and out, which isn't a bad thing. It's just the style of music. So you do kind of like lead it, and it does what you do matters to the song. Like it could be like it could change the whole tone of it. Like oh, that's a good song, except it takes a left turn, or it's really good and it makes it better. You know what I mean? There's a little bit of extra weight on the bass playing in this band than other bands.
that's really nice to hear. I mean, Dan actually said to me that him and Dave needed to do an acoustic song, and he said we wanted to do Civic Hall off the second album, Magnets. He said without the bass, it made no sense at all.
It's a big hole in the song. It's a big hole. You
Yeah,
know?
so he said it just doesn't make any sense. It didn't sound like the same song in any sort of way. So that was nice to hear as well. It's nice to hear that people think that I'm contributing something.
Oh, totally. It's great because to me, you know how like in a good band, it's usually guitar players, and I'm guilty of loving this. You got the rhythm. You kind of got the easy one, be like the Stones. You know what I mean? You got the two guys going back and forth, layering.
Yeah,
But the funness with this band is, I mean, it's the guitar and the bass
yeah,
going back. Yeah. So without one, there's just like the Stones. It's kind of a hole. If you have one guitar player playing, you don't hear it. The strength has to fall on Keith or Mick singing because there's a lot of missing in the background of the song. And that's the same thing it sounds like with you. I mean, you could hear the melody and you could hear the chords, which is a driving part of the song that just wasn't there without the bass. You know.
yeah. That's like I say. It's nice that you. Yeah, it's nice to hear that.
Well, you're welcome, and that's why I want people to really listen to the album because it's smart bass playing in a way because you're not copying the chords of what's going on. You're staying on the same, you're in the same field, but you're not mimicking the guitar, which
No,
would be kind of boring. It's you're kind of leading your own charge,
yes.
and because complimenting is the best way. Are there any standout songs in this album that you've kind of favorited at this point, or does it change on the new one?
Which ones the songs
Off
that
the new album, is there any songs off the new album that you're like your favoriting right now that you like
I,
are
I
like?
I really like I really like the 1, 2, 3 of the first three songs. To be honest, hit the ground
Yeah,
running, human race, and forever and ever. I think that's a 1, 2, 3.
it
It's a
is. It's
great start to an album. I think really a powerful start to an album.
I like those. I like Carry On, Nonstop Radio. I mean, there's a bunch of other songs on there that I think are also standout. It's hard because I think it's
Yeah, it is hard because I like them all. I mean, they wouldn't have made it onto the album unless we all like them all.
song lineup. It feels like and I always go to this place with school for recording. The song order on an album,
Yeah.
very important, I feel. It can make a
Yeah.
song sound better or worse once again. Did
Yeah.
you guys spend time working on the song order of this album? Because it feels like it's pretty solid going through it.
Yeah, we did. We had to have a meeting about it, and I remember bringing it up and going, right, lads, you know, the thing is, we're going to have to put these songs into order for the vinyl, particularly. First
Hmm.
of all, for the 12-track vinyl, let's do that, and then so there are going to be two songs that don't get onto the vinyl and only go onto the CD. And I remember saying, this is probably going to take us a long time to do this because of songs being in the same. You don't want two songs in the same key next to each other.
No, but you don't
Uh,
want it too jerky either, where you're going like this and you go,
yeah, but
because if you're listening to it, you're like, what the hell?
you want to keep a balance between the faster and slower songs. You
Mhm.
don't. So it is quite a lot, but surprisingly, we'd done it in about 30 minutes or 40 minutes. We
Really?
and we just looked at it and went, "That's it." It kind of almost did itself.
That's
It,
good because it does work. I mean, you don't want to like once you get past sonically the right balance,
yeah,
then you gotta listen to it emotionally. Be like, all right, but where are these songs bringing me emotionally? You know,
yeah,
because that's also got to work because most of our music listening is driven by emotion. You
yeah,
know, a music part's assumed that part's already taken care of. We're all
yeah,
emotion based. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You know how we feel. Do you have any other um like when you guys are recording it? So once he does the basic part, are you and the other guys contributing more to the songs once it's in the studio, like to help shape it more?
Yeah, what we really did is we set up in the studio itself, set some amps and drums up, put some microphones in front of it, and then we just played live for the guitar, the bass, and the rhythm guitar, the bass, and the drums were
Hmm.
basically recorded live. If we made a mistake, we did drop in and drop out,
Yeah.
uh, and then we'd take each song on its merits and once we'd done the backing tracks of all 14 songs, then we went to each song at a time and put on it what we thought was necessary to make it as good a song as it could possibly be.
So it sounds it sounds very healthy. Well, because you know what I'm saying, like if in songwriting, you've been in the business. Sometimes it's just one guy who does all the writing, sometimes it's a team thing. There's different ways. But generally, in some bands, there's a sound, and it's usually one or two guys that have a core rough idea, and they bring in, and then the band builds off of it. And
That's it.
and the songwriter is open to it, not because some songwriters are not open to sharing their baby. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So if you're open to it and they build off of it, that's usually bands that seem to have the most solid history of albums that sound the same, that aren't left turns. You know what I mean? Because it's
yeah,
kind of kept to a certain program of yes, the songwriter has the core ideas, that's their idea of the sound, but they take the advantage of all the other skills of the bandmates and
yeah.
build.
I think yeah, Dave's very much that kind of guy now, where he comes in and he plays what his part and the singing, and he says sort of basically, yeah, you have free reign to do whatever you want to do to make this song as good as you think it can be. Try and do your best for the song. It's all
I
about
think it's strong. It's important, I think, because that's what allows you. If he said, I'm not saying he would do this, but I'm saying in any band. But example, you're playing. If the singer in the band said, "Oh, I want you to play these chords along with this music to stay here because I don't want you standing out," it would kind of kill the process of who you are as a player. You
for
know,
sure.
because
Yeah,
that's not who you are. That's not the sound that I know, that I've been hearing and following. You know, in this and who
yeah.
you are.
You know, I like to put some create. You know, I like to be as creative as possible as I can be, and put as much as I can into each song.
Now you also play. Let's look at the website. That you also play some drums and keyboards.
Yeah, I have done in the past. Yeah, I do still play those things a
Is
bit.
it now? How much like I know because everyone's like, I play this, I play this. Did you play for a long time? Did you? Is it something you picked up from sound engineering? Because all these things that you play goes back in your songwriting. You know what I'm saying? There is always
Yeah,
a
oh, yeah. I had piano lessons when I was a kid for 4 or 5 years, so I got a lot of piano lessons
okay.
growing. Um, drums I picked up. I was in one band only as a drummer. They asked me to. I wasn't a drummer. They asked me to play drums for them. I've got no
Really?
idea.
Because when I was singing in bands and I would sit down in front of the drum set, they would ask me to sing. They'd be
I,
like, "You cannot be the drummer."
I did. I had no drums, um, but I played drums in one band, and I really enjoyed it. But when I finished with that band, I thought that's it for me in drums. I've done the drum thing. I was actually a guitarist for the longest time.
That makes sense. That makes sense with your playing too,
Yeah,
because you don't
maybe.
play it like it's a classically, buried instrument. Plus, from the time period you're in, you're also from a generation that I'm 54, so I think from our generation back, bass was not always sequestered to be like buried so much. You know,
Yeah,
I think in the 2000s, even like mid 90s maybe, it really just started to push the bass down further.
yeah.
Once CDs came out and compression and stuff, the next thing they went after was was the bass player.
Yeah, if you listen to 60s and 70s, you're right. The bass is pretty up front and a
Oh
lot
yeah.
like Spencer Davis Group or something. It's just like
Mhm.
right in your face.
But you don't think about it because you're so used to it. But then when you listen to get past the 80s and the rock and roll and the metal and the hair bands, which still have some good bass players, but that was another time where the radio was kind of picking certain songs how they liked it, which was kind of forcing the production of
Yeah,
artists that played live that were fantastic bass players going into the studio. The producers were kind of starting to shape them and push them. It wasn't the bass players themselves. By the time I think at the mid '90s, none of that anymore. I can't think
yeah,
of a lot of stand-up bass players from that time period unless they're like prog or something. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I think you're right. It's just become a bit. Well, I think everything's got a bit more bland sounding anyway.
Yeah, that's why this is a good time for you guys to come out. I think
Yeah,
that's why the '80s.
yeah. We really wanted to try and make an album that had a really live feel. Not too much. We really hardly used any computer stuff at
Yeah,
all. Just a few times we cut and pasted some stuff and used some keyboard modules, but really we just wanted to keep it as organic and try and record an album like we would have recorded it in
right.
1979.
You know, I do say I think unfortunately a band will be like they try. We want to try to keep it authentic. Feels like the word computer is a dirty word, but it's not because it's how you use things. You know what I mean? Like if you chocolate, I like chocolate, but if you have a lot of chocolate, it's bad for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
If you end up in a chocolate factory with all the dust and covers you, it'll kill you.
yeah,
Moderation is good. So if you use the tools that you have for something good, I mean, you can't strip back so far that we're Amish and using a butter churn. I mean, guitars are still plugged in. There's still electricity. If you have a computer that can allow you to cut and paste something, instead of layering or whatever, or do a punch-ins were a gift.
yeah,
Punch-ins on a song, I think, were a gift. And then
yeah,
the art of razor blade editing the tape, that's almost another skill into its own to do a good
yeah,
cut.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. I mean, on our third album together, which was produced by Steve Levine, who's obviously a very well-respected Grammy-winning producer.
Mhm.
He would do a lot more digital correction stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas when we were making the new album, it's like I've made a mistake. He was like, Mike would say, "I'll drop you in," and it was like, "Yeah, I remember this."
Well, and that's fine. I think because when I went to school, like one of the things that was like the perfect example, even back then, it was there's still misuses of equipment. Like one guy, my teacher would say, he come in. I'm not going to mention the artist he was doing back in the '80s, but every word this person sang, she couldn't sing. She was an image.
Right.
Every song, like he said, like literally, we spent the entire day just dropping in one word at a time.
Oh my
That's too
God.
much. I'm not
Yeah.
talking if you do an emotional, heartfelt thing, or there's a little bleed in from the guitar or whatever. Yeah, punching is awesome. If you're
Yeah.
doing every single piece, if you're taping it together and you're building something that's not really authentic that can play it, yeah, it's not the same thing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's just the misuse of the equipment.
Yeah. And if you're dropping in, you're still playing. You're still
Yeah,
playing live.
right.
It's still live. It's so yeah. That was kind of what we wanted to aim for. A more organic, old-fashioned approach.
The production is great on this album too for people.
Yeah.
It sounds very fresh. It sounds and I gotta be honest with you, and I've been saying this a lot lately. I've noticed, and I don't know if because there's less people recording because the industry's getting kind of not that great for producers. A lot of the albums are coming out, and maybe because the producers have more time, it's not so rushed. A lot of stuff sounds very nice, very warm. Almost, you're in the room, you know. this album is like that. It's not muddy. It's clear. As it is, you have a strong bass sound that wouldn't even be close anyhow to being caught in the frequencies of other instruments. You are your
Yeah.
own little world. Um, Drums are fresh and crisp, kind of like the way that this band needs that kind of drum sound. It honors the drum sound on this album. And then the vocals are great and it stays consistent. Actually, obviously with technology, the vocals are even produced even better than the first couple albums because technology.
Yeah.
With Dave. And the guitars you can hear fine are great. You can hear them. They're good.
Yeah.
It's it's a solid production and it feels like you're there and it feels real and it doesn't feel like it's sterile. Because that's the band you guys are.
It
Um,
was it was an interesting one of the things that made it interesting for us. It's the first time we've gone into the studio with someone who's actually a good friend. Mike Giblin, we've known him for years. When we did a Lost 80s tour in 2019, he played guitar for us
okay.
and, and drove us around for 6 weeks. So we got to know him really, really well. We've known Mike for such a long time. And then, he's got a good studio. He really wanted to do the album. He really wanted to produce it because he's a long time fan.
Well, he
Uh,
knows the music. I mean, if he's played the songs,
yeah,
that's
and
that's
it was
part of the songwriting. I mean, that's important to know
yeah,
if he played the songs you guys did, he's in the mindset of how you guys are writing and thinking.
yeah,
So
yeah,
with the new music, he's kind of like there with you guys.
yeah, very much so. And we did some shows in America last year before we went into the studio with him, and he was with us on the shows, and yeah, he said, "I'm going to work really fast. I'm going to do you a great deal, and we're going to make a great album." And we did, yeah, 14 songs in 14 days.
I love the idea because not a lot of people are doing albums lately. So every time somebody, I like, and like I said, have you guys put on my lot in my peripherals now is like a new band that's like, all right, now I'm with you guys to the end now. You know what I mean? Because some bands you just can't think. And I've actually gone back because of other artists like you and said, what else was I missing during this time period to go back and review? Because, you know, there was no internet back then. You had what your friends listened to, what college radio gave you
Yeah,
back in the
yeah,
80s, or what MTV dictated to you. And you guys were lucky. You guys had one of those MTV videos. There's probably 20 of them that built careers,
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, your one video is still huge compared to, from the easy ones or the tubes to, your John Mellencamp's and Prince's that made a history out of Duran Duran's. That video drove the band.
it
Um,
did.
but I was not aware of every other artist because of that. You know what I mean? Their albums. So it was fun to go back and hear those two albums and be like, oh, this is some solid songs. This is not like one song. You know what I mean? Because I didn't know what I was gonna get. Because I got the album sent to me. People don't know. I get the promo sent to me, and it's usually artists I know because I do know I'm obsessed with my music. And I go, oh yeah, I know that. I know that one song. So I checked out the album. Just like it was also like a new artist for me, really.
Yeah,
I
that's
listened to the
great.
album, and as a standalone new artist, I go, oh, I like this. I would listen to this on the radio if there was such thing as radio that I listened to. Let's pretend. And I said, this is a good album. And then I'm like, all right, I know better than the one to wonder. Let me go back and listen to the other two albums with some perspective now. And I was like, wow, this is really fresh, you know? So it's exciting. So now it's like 4 or 5 albums now that I got new, old ones and new to
Yeah,
check out. And that's why I'm telling the fans, definitely get this album. But please go back and listen to the other ones. Don't sell yourself short if you're a new fan. You're not too old to become a new fan. That's kind
yeah,
of what this is about. And your bass playing really is something I love. I love, especially from that time period of the 80s, is bass players really, made a difference. Like huge.
yeah, yeah. Like Bruce Foxton of the Jam. Yeah,
It's definitely an important thing. Um, as we get to the end of this, I want to say, so you come to the US, you're doing some touring. Let's see, I think you're in Connecticut, like at the end of July. I may be able to pop down and see the show. I'm hoping July 31st, I think it is. I'll have to look it up.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's one of the first ones. Might be the first one, actually. Is it
Bit of practice.
near Boston? Near Boston, up near Boston.
No, it's near Boston, but no, this one's in Connecticut right next to it. So it might be a
Yeah,
couple after it.
I think that might be the first show.
Oh, it could be. Well, because I'm in New England, so basically it's Boston and New York, and I'm in the middle. So if it's
Okay.
sure, if a band decides to do a kickoff, like a Boston, New York, usually it's one or the other because it's the middle spot. If they
Yeah.
do hit the city, you know. And it's funny, a lot of English bands start off in Boston
Yeah. We did.
on the
We did.
tours.
Yeah. I think we did that 2019. We started in Boston. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the Alarm in Boston before the plague came around.
Yeah.
The Four Horsemen of Death. That I saw them. I think it was '88. I don't know. Um, so it does seem like a lot of bands do start there. When they come over. This is kind of interesting actually. Uh, Touring is how different is it now? Like as if we get up in age, like I get tired just doing everything and go home. I want to get home. I can't imagine playing every night and not being exhausted. Like, is it like a different perspective now, like being able to tour the world and appreciate it but you know how to take care of yourself because you've been doing music for a long time. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you know how to take care of yourself. It's a little different than someone like
Yeah.
me that just plays guitar at my house or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Where
Yeah.
it would be a huge, just to play out what would be physically a lot for me. You're trained that way because that's what you do.
Yeah.
But touring at this point in your life, I would think it'd be kind of more fun actually.
It is. I would say it is more fun. We're less uptight than we were back in the 80s.
Oh, I hope so.
We're just so much more relaxed now, and we've just got this philosophy. We're like a Spinal Tap philosophy of have a good time all the time,
Yeah.
and we always try and approach everything under that kind of idea, and it seems to work very well. Okay, we've got no sound check. We've got no sound check. Let's just go to the pub instead. It's
I like
just
that.
you
But
just
I think that's yeah.
try to put a
Sorry.
positive spin on anything. Anything that could maybe be viewed as a bit negative.
Mhm.
Just say, let's just ride with it, just go with it, and
I think that
it seems to work. It seems to work. Everyone seems to buy into the idea of that.
but here's what I gotta say. Like, obviously, there's no secret. America's a little bit hot right now
Yeah,
to say. And I think everybody needs, and I never get political on my page about anything. I'm like, we all need to get together, just go to a concert and hang out for a couple hours. And then from there, let's just work on it.
yeah,
I've got friends and bands that were playing through, and I have friends that were and relatives that are in California that places have burnt down, and then they're touring, and people are touring then. So there's all kinds of crazy things going on in America, and it's just getting worse. I think having moments of bands together like this is almost
yeah,
a little bit more important. It's not like it's like important like you're getting food and water sent to you, like you need to live. But I think if from a normal day for the other people that are dealing with the emotions and the stress, to just be with another group of people and singing, whether it's I think you're on tour with Flock of Seagulls and a bunch of other bands at this tour. I'm trying to think. But whoever it is, to sing these songs they know, to take a minute and realize there's different things in life. Life will keep going, and have fun. And I think
yeah,
you guys feeling that way and being happy,
yeah,
you can tell when somebody's a curmudgeon on stage. You can. They're just
yeah,
kind of looking down their shoes and they're playing. And they're like, I like the music, but I can't stand the band. I hate being on tour. You know, you feel that. You're like, ugh. But if they're up there smiling, you forget about it. You're smiling. You walk away going, that was a good show. That was fun. You know, I didn't think about
yeah,
anything. I just smiled.
yeah. I just had fun and enjoyed it.
And I think that's important. I would say so,
Yeah.
definitely enjoy yourself over there when you come here.
Oh,
Safe and no.
I'm really looking forward to it. It's gonna be tough. Sometimes there's 8.5 hour drives
Ugh.
and then a show, but we're not driving. Um, like you say, we know how to look after ourselves a little bit better
Mhm.
now than we did back in the day when we were just crazy. So, so
Well, you can look at it this way, though. It's like you're not like America viewed Brexit and all the stress from you guys. Now you guys can come through here and just be watching us and being like,
yeah,
I'm just leaving. I'm a guest. Like we saw the other side.
yeah,
I'm not comparing the two or whatever by any means, but I'm saying we saw the angst of you guys and especially talking musicians going through Brexit and how it affects musicians on a totally different level.
yeah,
That nightmare. But
yeah, totally.
so to watch something, at least you can be separate from it and be like, I'm gonna do my thing, keep moving forward. Avoid politics. Don't let anybody trick you to talk about politics. Say, I'm loving people, man. I'm just a bass
Yeah,
player. Very well for
yeah,
me. I'm a bass
exactly.
player.
Exactly. Bass guitar and backing vocals.
That's right.
That's
Of
me.
course, yes. Yep. Do you think, I'm gonna ask one last question. Being a bass player, guitar player, do you think it affects, or being a guitar player rather, affects your bass playing? And I want to say this with one caveat. When I talk to people, I've been doing this more often, it's like some people that are like drummers or guitarists are also drummers. And I noticed when they play drums, an easy one I always say, it used to be an example would be like Dave Grohl. He's a drummer and
Yeah.
plays guitar. But if you watch
Yeah.
Dave play guitar, he plays it very rhythmically. And that's why his songs are so darn contagious and catchy. Because it
Yeah.
has that bounce to it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not until it doesn't sound he's playing drums, but he knows when he plays the songs, he finds that groove with the guitar version. And I'm noticing a lot of guitar players that play drums do that. Do you think you don't play guitar plays into your lead bass? It's got it the way you play bass.
Yeah, maybe. But when I played guitar, I wasn't a guitar solo guy. I was more
No. But you're writing a rhythm though, right? You're leading. You're leading, and you're
very
not doing
much.
bass solos. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and yeah. So yeah, I think in a way that the way I play guitar, yeah, I would say that does affect the way I play the bass because I play it in a very kind of rhythmic way.
Yeah, it's kind of structurally. If like to me, when I hear this album in particular, but I can probably give other examples. And then this is how I like to hear a bass. Is it frames up, it frames up like a house. You know what I mean, or a car.
Yeah,
And this is the way the perfect sound for production for a band for me. I'll tell you this. I mean, I just say like a group or a sound an album is like a car, and the drums is going to be the engine. It's got to be steady. You know what I mean? Shift different speeds, different tempos. It's got to be locked in. And yet the bass guitar is really the framework of the car. The beauty of it, the shapes, the design. It kind of tells you what you're getting when you look at it, which I think the bass should do.
yeah,
You know, and then the rest of it, the beauty of it, and the songs, and this and that, that's the balance between the guitar, you know, the guitar, the vocals, and the song lyrics. You know, where the rest of the details come in,
yeah,
flushes it out. But a big part to me is almost like the muscle car is the drums and the bass. Definitely sets the pace for what the other two guys can do, and can make or break the sound of a band. I mean, it's four components or five, you know,
yeah.
whoever. You know what I'm saying? It is the sum of its parts to me, any band is the strength of it. So, you know, I leave you with that. In your head, do you think about that one? The crazy podcaster. So
Cheers.
you always say thank you, man. This has been great. You know, if I get down to see you guys, maybe I can get a chance to say hi to you. I'll let you guys know I'm in the area. Say
Yeah,
hi.
yeah. Just come down and say hello.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Enjoy America. Be
Will
safe.
do.
Have fun. People, the album list again, let's do a little more push one more time. Wasp in a Jar. We both don't know the date. I know Ravi's gonna be he sent me the information, it's on my phone. I'm talking through. Um, it's like in the next month. I have it down. It's in a couple
20,
weeks. Thank
28th
you.
of
There we
28th.
go. You're hired. You're bass player, singer, and promo guy now. Um, check out the album. Buy the new album. Check out the old stuff. They're on tour in the US. Check them out. It's actually a package of a bunch of 80s bands, which is some of the best times for music ever written, anyhow, because everything was different and the songs still stand up. You know, Steve, man, thanks for being on the show. I appreciate it. I'll be back again.
Thank you very much. It's
Thank
been a
you.
pleasure. Cheers now.
Cheers.